The quiet psychology of starting over. Have you ever looked around your life and realized nothing is wrong exactly, but somehow the person living it isn't the same person who built it? The house might be the same, the town might be the same, the routines might be the same. The people around you might still expect the same version of you they've always known. And yet, something feels different. Something inside you has shifted. The dreams you once chased no longer excite you. The things you once fought so hard for no longer seem important. The person you spent years trying to become no longer feels like home. And that can be a very strange thing to experience, because nobody really prepares us for it. Nobody teaches us that one day we may wake up and realize we have quietly outgrown our own life. Not because we failed, not because we made a mistake, not because something went wrong, but because we changed. And perhaps one of the loneliest feelings a human being can experience is realizing that the life they built no longer fits the person they are becoming. Most people call this an identity crisis. But I wonder if that description misses something important. Because what if you were not having an identity crisis? What if you were simply standing in the doorway between two versions of yourself? What if the confusion isn't a sign that something is breaking, but evidence that something is transforming? Because transformation is rarely dramatic. Movies make it look dramatic. Books make it look dramatic. Social media definitely makes it look dramatic. One moment the hero is lost. The next moment they have clarity, a new beginning, a fresh chapter, a beautiful sunrise. Credits roll. Real life isn't it usually like that. Real transformation is often quiet, messy, awkward, confusing. It happens while you're still doing the school run, still going to work, still paying bills, still making tea, still walking the dog, still trying to remember why you walked into the kitchen. Life keeps moving, but internally, entire worlds can be shifting beneath the surface. And perhaps that is why starting over feels so strange. Because often, nothing around us changes immediately. Only we do. And when that happens, we find ourselves living inside a life that was built by a previous version of ourselves. A version who wanted different things, believed different things, dreamed different dreams, had different fears, different priorities, different definitions of success, and one day you wake up and realize the map you are holding no longer leads where your heart wants to go. That can be frightening, because humans like certainty. The nervous system likes certainty. The nervous system does not ask, will this make me happy? It asks, have I survived this before? That is a very important distinction, because the reason starting over feels so uncomfortable is because the nervous system often prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. Read that again. Familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. That explains so much human behavior. Why people stay in situations that no longer nourish them. Why people remain in relationships they have already emotionally left. Why they keep jobs they secretly dread. Why they cling to identities that stopped fitting years ago. Why they repeat patterns they promised themselves they would never repeat again. Not because they were weak, not because they were broken, because uncertainty feels dangerous. The known feels safer than the unknown, even when the known is making them miserable. And perhaps you've felt this yourself. Life begins whispering, you've outgrown this. But the nervous system responds, yes, but at least I know how this pain works. That is one of the hidden battles of transformation. The soul is trying to move forward. The nervous system is trying to keep you safe. Neither side is wrong. They were simply speaking different languages. And maybe that feels so exhausting. Because you're not only learning something new, you were grieving something old. Nobody talks enough about that part. The grief. Not the grief of losing a person. The grief of losing a version of yourself. The version who believed life would look a certain way. The version who thought they had it all figured out. The version who carried dreams that no longer fit. The version who saw the world through different eyes. there is a quiet sadness that comes with outgrowing yourself, even when the growth is healthy, even when it is necessary, even when it is leading somewhere beautiful. Because every beginning contains an ending hidden inside it, and every ending contains a beginning hidden inside it. Humans tend to celebrate beginnings, but they rarely honor the endings properly. And perhaps that's why so many people feel lost. They're trying to start a new chapter while still mourning the old one. They were standing between two worlds, not who they were, not yet who they were becoming, just in between. And honestly, I think that is one of the most misunderstood places in human life. Because when people find themselves there, they often assume something has gone wrong. They call it an identity crisis, a breakdown, confusion, failure, being stuck. But what if that S, not what it is at all? What if you were simply in transition? What if the fog is not proof you're lost? What if the fog is proof you've left the old shore but haven't reached the new one yet? Think about that. The ship in the middle of the ocean cannot see either coastline clearly. That doesn't mean it is going nowhere. It means it is traveling, and maybe that S where you are right now. Traveling, becoming, transforming, not broken, not failing, not lost, just moving through a season that doesn't yet make sense. And perhaps this is where we arrive at something that many people never hear. There is a difference between being lost and being in transition. Lost implies there is no direction. Transition implies movement. And I think many humans confuse the two. Because transition rarely feels like progress while you re-inside it. It feels like uncertainty, like standing in a doorway for longer than expected. Like the old life has fallen away, but the new life has not yet appeared. Like being between chapters. And that space can be deeply uncomfortable because humans are creatures of identity. We build stories about who we are. We say, I am this kind of person. I would never do that. This is my path. This is my future. And then life happens. Experience happens. Healing happens. Wisdom happens. And slowly, the old story no longer fits. Not because it was wrong, because it was incomplete. Because you were incomplete. We all are. And perhaps one of the strangest experiences in life is realizing that the person you worked so hard to become was only ever meant to be one chapter, not the entire book. Think about that. How many versions of yourself have already existed? The child, the teenager, the young adult, the dreamer, the survivor, the people pleaser, the achiever, the wounded version, the healing version, the version who thought they knew everything, the version who realized they didn't. They all felt permanent at the time. Yet every one of them eventually became someone else. And somehow, this version will too. That isn't failure. That's life. Nature has been teaching this lesson forever. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by improving itself. It dissolves. The old form literally breaks apart. Imagine how terrifying that would feel from the caterpillar's perspective. Everything familiar disappears. Everything known dissolves. For a time, there is no clear identity, no certainty, no wings, no evidence of what comes next, only trust. And then eventually, something entirely new emerges. Not because the caterpillar failed, because transformation required surrender. The same thing happens with seeds. From above ground, it looks buried, lost, hidden, forgotten. But underground, something else is happening. The shell is breaking open. Roots are forming. Life is reorganizing itself. Growth is happening in darkness long before it becomes visible in light. And maybe humans are not so different. Perhaps some of the most important growth in life happens before there is any evidence of it. Before the new relationship, before the new purpose, before the new direction, before the confidence returns, before the breakthrough arrives. And because we cannot see it yet, we assume nothing is happening. But sometimes life is doing its deepest work beneath the surface. That thought brings me enormous comfort. Because there were times in my own life when I genuinely believed I was lost. Not lost geographically, lost internally. The old map no longer worked. The old identity no longer fit. The old goals no longer inspired me. And for a while I thought something had gone wrong. But looking back, nothing had gone wrong. Life was simply inviting me forward, not backwards, forward. And maybe that's what it's doing for you too. Maybe you're not failing to find your old self. Maybe you're being asked to stop looking backwards entirely. Because perhaps the version of you that you're searching for isn't behind you. Perhaps they're ahead of you, waiting, growing, becoming. And maybe that is why going backwards never quite works. Because the soul knows. The soul knows when a chapter is over. The soul knows when a season has ended. The soul knows when a dream has completed its purpose, even when the mind is still desperately trying to reopen the door. And that's where the real grief often lives, not in change itself, but in our resistance to accepting that the change has already happened. The relationship has changed. The dream has changed. The identity has changed. You have changed. And perhaps healing begins when we stop asking, "How do I get back?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming?" And perhaps that brings us to the question at the heart of this entire conversation. What if you're not lost? What if you're simply becoming someone your old life can no longer contain? Just sit with that for a moment. Because I think many people spend years trying to squeeze themselves back into identities they've already outgrown. Old dreams, old expectations, old versions of success, old definitions of happiness, old stories about who they should be. And when those things no longer fit, they assume something is wrong. But perhaps nothing is wrong at all. Perhaps growth simply requires a larger container. Think about a child trying to wear clothes from 10 years ago. No one would expect them to fit. No one would call it failure. No one would tell them to force themselves back into a shape they've already grown beyond. Yet emotionally, humans do this all the time. We try to become the person we were before the heartbreak, before the illness, before the loss, before the awakening, before the healing, before the experience that changed everything. But life is not asking you to become who you were. Life is asking you to become who you are now. And there is a profound difference between those two things, because one is rooted in nostalgia, the other is rooted in truth. And truth can be uncomfortable. Truth often asks us to release things we thought would stay forever. Truth asks us to let go of identities that once protected us. Truth asks us to trust ourselves before we can see the destination clearly. That is difficult work, but it is also sacred work, because eventually every human reaches a moment where they must choose. Do I spend the rest of my life trying to return to a chapter that has already ended? Or do I turn the page? That question changes everything, because the future rarely arrives all at once. It arrives gradually, quietly. One conversation, one decision, one boundary, one act of courage, one ordinary day at a time. And before you realize it, the person you were becoming has already arrived. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but naturally, almost without you noticing. One day you'll look back and realize the season that felt so confusing was actually shaping you. The uncertainty was teaching you. The discomfort was stretching you. The transition was preparing you. And suddenly what once felt like an ending reveals itself as a beginning. That is why I think humans need more compassion for themselves during periods of change. Because transformation is exhausting. Not because you're doing something wrong, because you're carrying the emotional weight of becoming. And becoming takes energy. It takes courage. It takes trust. It takes patience. Especially when there is no roadmap. Especially when the people around you don't fully understand. Especially when your own mind keeps asking, "Are we there yet?" But perhaps life was never about arriving. Perhaps it was always about becoming. again and again and again. And if you are standing in that strange space right now, between who you were and who you're becoming, I want you to hear this. You do not need to have all the answers today. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need certainty before taking the next step. You only need enough courage to take one step forward, then another, then another. The path often reveals itself while walking, not while waiting. And remember this too. You are allowed to outgrow things. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to want different things now. You are allowed to become someone new. That is not inconsistency. That is growth. That is life. That is what healthy humans do. And perhaps the reason this season feels uncomfortable is because something inside you already knows. A new chapter is trying to begin. Not because the old chapter was bad, because it is complete. There is a difference. So if you find yourself looking around your life and feeling strangely disconnected, if you feel like the person living your life is no longer the person who built it, please don't panic. Don't assume you're broken. Don't assume you've failed. Don't assume you've lost your way. You may simply be standing in one of the most important seasons of your life, a season of becoming, a season where the old self is gently stepping aside so the next version can emerge. And maybe years from now, you'll look back at this exact moment and smile, because what felt like an identity crisis was actually an introduction. You were not losing yourself. You were meeting yourself. If this episode resonated with you, I'd genuinely love to know, what is one thing you've outgrown in life that you now realize was part of your growth? Leave it in the comments below if you feel called. And if you know someone standing between chapters right now, someone trying to find their footing in a season of change, maybe send this video to them. And if you'd like to join us for more conversations like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of the Valkyrie 338 community. As always, this has been Valkyrie. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others. Lanterns up, people.